welcome to our public relation course. So in this course, we are actually going to focus more on sports public relation. Most of us, we might be wondering, what are the definitions for public relations? How is this connected to sports? And what are the things that make us an effective public relation practitioner? So to answer all of these questions, please stay tuned and let us move on into this particular topic. So in this topic, there are three main outcomes that we're going to focus on. Number one, we should be able to define what is public relations and what is sports public relations. Other than that, we also want you to know and understand and able to explain the evolutions of sports public relations. Last but not least, we also need you to identify what are the skills needed in becoming a good or effective media and PR practitioner. So, at the first slide, I told you already, some of us might be wondering what are the definitions for public relations and sports public relations, right? So in these slides, we are going to define sports public relations as well as public relations. To make it short, public relations is actually the relationship happens between an organization and the public. Therefore, in order to develop these relationships, a strategic communication process must happen. So, a public relations is where communications between the organizations towards its public. So, when this occurs, whenever an organization tries to communicate to any of the publics, it shows that there is a public relations. For sports public relations, it is any brand-centric communications that manage and advance the relationship between the sports organizations as well as the key publics. Therefore, in the same range of definitions, it is still a communications that happens between the organizations and public, but in the sports setting, which is involve the sports organization. So this is the definitions for sports public relation and public relations. Somehow it is similar, but the difference is only on the organization's type itself. Okay? Then we want to know what are the sport public relations representation. So number one, in sport public relations, as I mentioned earlier, it is a brand-centric function. A brand-centric function is that a brand may be defined as all of the representations that distinguish from an entity to another entities, right? So this could be in terms of names, marks, intangible attributes. For example, we have several types of sports organizations here in Malaysia itself, and as well as the overseas. For example, we have Nike, Adidas, Skechers. These are all the brand centric, which means that they are sports company, sports organizations, but we have different names, different marks, and different intangible attributes. Okay, the same goes to any other formal organizations. For example, we have National Sports Council in Malaysia. We have national sports institutions. Okay, and then we have Ministry of Youth and Sports. Each of them have different names, okay, different marks, and also they have different intangible attributes. So this is what it meant by a brand centric. So number two, it has a communication practice. For communication practice, healthy public relations is communication focused practice, right? It can be categorized by effective communications between the parties involved. Um, it is very critical, crucial, because it is something that works in the two ways of communications. For example, if the organizations are trying to develop the messages or try to disseminate the messages, the public, whoever receives this message, should be able to understand, interpret, and they should be able to explain it back very well. Right? So this is what it meant by communication practice. Okay, and then number three, it is managerial in nature, because when we talk about sports public relations, they have different types of managerial process happens in that particular organizations. For example, we have human resources management department, marketing department, and sometimes each of these departments overlaps the activities of the managerial activities, right? So it is important for the organizations itself to recognize and to identify what are the job scopes for each of the departments so that they don't overlap each other managerial functions, right? And then number four, the last one, it must be systematic practice, right? So when I say systematic practice, it means that this systematic practice will begin as the identifications of the sports organization key publics. The organizations itself must identify and recognize who are the key publics for their organizations. For example, is it the athletes? Is it the coaches? Is it the general publics or the buyers or high performance athletes? So they need to identify this first, then only they can come to the systematic practice. So this is actually four types of elements included in a sports public relations. So now let us move on to the evolutions of sports public relations. There are three main evolutions happens in terms of sports public relations, right? Number one is the growth of social media. Number two, fragmentations of media environment, and number three, changes in legacy of media. So we might be wondering what are all of this. So let us move to the next slide. So looking at the growth of the social media, nowadays every single one of us has our own social media account. This due to the trend and as well as the technological advancements and as well as the needs that we need to adapt for these current years, right? So previously, public relation communicates through the traditional ways, right? Traditional ways is to relying heavily on the press releases, media coverage, control messaging. So somehow, this is actually a one-way communication. Other than that, we also have our own gatekeepers where the journalists and editors acted as the gatekeepers determining which are the stories that should be reaching the public. Due to that, we get limited feedback because we do know that feedback mechanisms is actually one of the elements included in the communication process. However, while using this one-way communications, the feedback that we get is very limited because it was slow and sometimes it can come through letters, emails, or phone calls. And then in 2004, the rise of social media happens, right? Where people are having their own social media accounts. We have previously we have Friendster, MySpace, and then it becomes irrelevant. Now we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then later in 2016 we have TikTok, where all of these platforms were used to share information, to do networking, to disseminate messages. So it is very important for us to understand this, right? So due to this, it has been helping out in the global reach where the social media platforms had billions of users. So definitely when you have any set of information, you can reach it out to your audience in a very fast ways, right? And also a real-time interactions where the information could be generated and could be responded at that particular time as well, right? So the impact of this growth of social media to the public relations is that it built up a two-way communications where people are engaged in that social media platforms where people are able to, interact with the organizations itself, with people who are in the organizations itself. So it developed this two-way communications, and this somehow reflects on the responses from the organizations to the public. And then number two, it helps to develop content creations and sharing. We do understand that nowadays it is one of the most effective methods when we try to communicate with the public or audiences, when we can create the content and we can share it in the social media platforms, various types of social media platforms. There are various types of influencers nowadays. We have health and fitness influencers, sports influencers, entertainment influencers. All these influencers are actually one of the biggest uh, role in influencing the idea or the decision making by the public, and as well as how they want to represent the organizations itself. Other than that, it does help in managing crisis management. Because of what? Because of a fast response method. Okay, so whenever there is a crisis happen, so these particular organizations are able to respond or reflect very fast, and the information can get to the audience in a very fast ways, right? And then one of the ways how you want to build up your brand, okay, through the CSR program. Okay, this comes with the final influences or the impact, which is the community building. Because whenever you have a good image, a good brand, um, you develop it through the community program. So somehow the relationship with the community are going to be strengthened. So eventually, there are several types of very positive impact due to the growth of social media to the public relations. So uh, we can understand this, and we do understand also that this is one of the requirements if you are in this particular field. If you are in a public relation field, you have to be able to use this social media account. You should be able to adapt to this social media usage. If not, then that will become one of the, we call it as a constraints or obstacles for you to get to your audiences or to your public in an effective ways, right? So just now I have already mentioned on the impact of the growth of social media. So right now we're going to look onto one of the two cases or one of the two examples on how this growth of social media in sports setting helps uh, a sports organization. So one of the example is that JDT Football Club or Johor Darul Takzim Football Club. So for brand building, GDT uses all the social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to just showcase their facilities, their training session, behind the scenes content. So it helps to build up the brand, and it also helps to um, emerge these fan base and fan engagement, because um, that particular official social media account can engage with the fans through live Q&A sessions. They also can have Q&A sessions with the players, match day polls, interactive polls. So all of these are actually, they were trying to connect with the audiences, right? So this shows a very good example. So let's look at one more example, okay, which is the Malaysian Rugby Union. So this Malaysian Rugby Union actually utilized the Facebook and Instagram to provide extensive coverage of rugby events. So when there is a rugby events throughout Malaysia, so the fans, the audiences, they can get all the information, including the live streaming, match highlights, players interviews, which makes the sports more fun and more engaging with the audiences. Other than that, they also use their platforms in order to develop an educational content. For example, the rules of rugby, training tips, health and fitness advisors. So all of this actually was shared in the social media platforms of the Malaysian Rugby Union. So it shows that MRU use social media accounts very well in order to develop their brand building, they do educational content. So this shows that the social media account or social media platforms have given a very good impact to the Malaysian rugby unions itself, right? So these two examples, the JDP and MRV just now, is the examples of how good social media can be in terms of a public relations practice, right? Okay. So other than that, this one now we are looking more towards the fragmentation of our media environment. So basically, it is the proliferations of various media channels. All right. So when we use several types of channels just to get the information of things that we want to go for, right? So it can be segmented, and we have diverse audiences, right? So for example, we have different types of sports channel. So the latest examples is definitely Olympic 2024 in Paris, where we have several types of sports channels that we can look onto when we want to watch this live streaming for the sports that we go for. For example, we have ESPN Plus, YouTube Plus, Suka TV, Astro Arena. So these are actually the prominent examples on the streaming services that are popular among the sports fans. So when this happens, it means that we can have a diverse audiences because some of us um, we were more likely love listening to the local commentators. So we can use Astro Arena, for example. If we want to go for something that is a little bit sounds international, we go for ESPN Plus, for example. Or now we have for Olympic Paris, we have this OLI channel from Astro. So it is actually one of the ways how the fragmentations of media environments happens, right? So not only that, the fragmentations also happens when the types of devices used by the audiences also segmented, because some of us use tablet, some of us use um, smartphones, some of us are watching it through televisions, right? So when we have these several types of media devices used, so this is also called as the fragmentation of media environment, because we have already separated and segregated the audiences to use different devices, just to get the information about the things that they want to go for. Okay, so here is the applications of media environment fragmentations in a Malaysia sport setting. Okay, so I take an example of Football Association of Malaysia, FAM. So definitely we have multiple platforms where FAM disseminates information through newspapers, televisions, official websites, social media, and also mobile apps. So this helps because it can improve the localizing content, because FAM provides the content in multiple languages, right? So Malay, Chinese, English. So just to cater the different the diverse linguistic landscape in Malaysia, right? So other than that, the audiences segmentations, right, also appeased by this, because Instagram is used for people who love to watch the content such as the photos and short videos, while the Facebook and Twitter are more likely for matches updates, right? So this is where a very good application applied might be FAM. So one more example is the Badminton Association of Malaysia, BAM. Also, they use their platforms for comprehensive documentary on YouTube. Alright, so it's just in the matters of giving the vibes to the audiences, and then the live streaming highlights. So these are actually where the association itself make an effort to just develop an interest in terms of their audiences and also the public. Right, this one is the last one for the evolutions of sports public relations, which is the changes in legacy of media. So evolution of public relations in the rise of digital media has impacted the legacy of media, includes traditional platforms and such as newspapers, radio, and televisions has been turned out to be more onto effective sport setting, which are the social media, right? So we also have these key changes in the legacy of media, which is the digital integrations, where we have online presence, newspapers and magazines are transitions to digital format, right? So most of us really love to read an online news. Okay, and then we have multimedia content. We have also real-time reporting. We can get the results of a games of a match. Okay, in a split time, split seconds. Right, social media integrations where people can actually have two-way communications, promotions, and engagement happens. And then we have collaborations and partnerships where everybody are able to um, uh, what we call propose for collaborations and partnerships in just a matter of to promote sports and also to promote their products. Okay, and last but not least is data driven insights where some of legacy media uses the data analytics to understand their audience's preferences, algorithms, to ensure that they're developing or they are creating a content that is relevant, right? So this is the key changes in the legacy of media. We are no longer focusing directly or solely onto the traditional media that we have, such as television, newspapers, and also the radios. Okay, so these changes are something that we have to adapt to because of the technological advancement. Okay, alright, so this is the example. For example, the Malaysian Super League (MSL). Okay, so it has cross-platform promotions because it was covered on extensively on TV3, Astro, RTM. Some of the channel also bought uh, the same coverage just to make sure that their audiences uh, their preferences audiences are able to watch that particular game or match, right? And then we have interactive broadcast. The legacy media offers interactive broadcast with features such as live polls, viewer comments. If you watch this on the YouTube Plus, YouTube Live, so you can comment in live comments. You can interact with any other audiences. So this is actually one of the things that happens because of the legacy of media, changes of legacy of media, right? Astro Arena also doing the same thing where they got Astro Go apps, okay, where people can watch this everywhere they go, right? So not to be what we call, not to give dissatisfactions to the audiences, right? And then they also use the social media engagement where they are going to just trigger out the audiences what are the upcoming match and everything. So this is where it shows that the legacy of media changes has impacted the public relations, especially in sports, very well. Right, so as a conclusions, we can see that effective public relations in sports settings does involve strategic planning, strong media relations, active social media, and people are able to interact and giving response and feedback very fast. Okay, so the growth of the evolutions of our sports public relations itself have become something that we need to understand that these evolutions are going to work very fast because of the technological advancements, and we as the PR practitioners need to adapt to the situations, need to adapt with whatever things that we need to be able to handle. If not, then that will become a biggest obstacle to all of this, right? Other than that, we should be able to also keep ourselves relevant, do update to the current trends or the current most use of platforms, alright? So just to make sure that we keep ourselves relevant. Okay, with that, thank you very much. I'll see you on the next